Good morning, guys. Good afternoon. Happy hump day. We are halfway through the week already. Can you believe it? I've got a fantastic guest joining me today. But before I bring him on, let me say hello to everybody. So we've got joining us, I think Project Storytime was first today. So well done to him. We have got Camper. Good to see you. We've got Golgo13, aka Brandon, the Infinite Wolf. Good morning. We have got Colin P. Smith. Good afternoon. Loki's Mornings of Mischief. Hello, boss. And what a fantastic show you just had. Well done. Great to see Mara Jade on with you. We have got Shellback. Welcome, Shellback. Saint Vakos. Good to see you. We have got both Bash brothers, Chris Persia and Mark the Infinitely Tired. Hello, gentlemen. Good afternoon to Winterhands ASMR. Good to see you as always. D-Bud Martin, good morning. Paris, welcome to you. Good to see you too. Mike Beats Dix, hello, love. Good to see you. Let's see who else has joined us. Billy Duncan, welcome. Good to see you. I think that's everybody. No, Justice for Depp. Hello, sweetheart. Good to see you as well. Hope everyone is having a good day so far. And Robert Pearson, good afternoon. And Immortal Technique, welcome to you. So, as I said, I have a fantastic guest joining me today. Someone who has a very, very deep knowledge of what's going on with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. And so I thought I would ask him to join me and we can kind of go over the ins and outs of this really complicated mess of what's going on. So let me bring him on. It is General Zod himself. Good morning.
Hi. Thank you for having me on. And for all of those guys who don't know who I am, it is the most freaking ground shaking but never media show money taking, the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in all of YouTube entertainment today, Mr. Zod. Hi, everybody.
Love that intro. How long did it take you to memorize that, just out of curiosity?
I used to say it a lot. Like, believe it or not, it's kind of a corny story, but I used to go in the mirror and I used to just say it over and over again. And I got to a point that, like, even when I'm exhausted or whatever else, I've had streams where I've drank on my stream and I've been like, I could say it perfectly. So, I noticed some of my people here. Hello, Debbie. Hi, Linda A. Justice for Depp. Good to see you guys. The master of mischief, Mr. Loki. Good to see you, sir. How he does his show so early, I will never understand. That is too early for me. God bless him.
Absolutely. One of the greatest morning shows on YouTube. Highly, highly recommend it.
By the way, I just got to say, even though that intro was as advertised loud, it was very cool. I liked it. I was like,
Thank you. I love that intro. I think it kind of covers all aspects of Purple Valkyrie. So thank you. Thank you, love. Shall we dive into this case? I know that you've been following this for a long time. And when I was thinking about doing this, I needed someone who was basically who I would consider an expert on the ins and outs. So I said, you know what? I've got to get Mr. Zod on to help me with this one.
Oh gosh, thank you very much. No pressure.
No pressure at all, sweetheart.
No. I've been following this for a while now. I've actually gotten into a community, a wonderful community that I've been lucky to talk with, and I met a lot of them on Rob Rules. And if you guys don't know, check him out. He's a great channel. But it really hit me how important it was, because why this case hits with so many people is it works with a lot of people who are survivors of DA. And I got into a community like that. And it's really about a person claiming something that they're not. And it was really eye-opening to see how many people have had or been victims of this. and to see them, look at this person and realize how full of crap they are, and all of the evidence and the stuff that tracks back. It also follows a lot with what I do on my channel before this, was talking about entertainment, and I was diving deep into woke culture.
Yeah.
And finding out this is the gross misuse of the hashtag Me Too, and how this could be a bad, yes, I'm still using the intro. Sorry, I get distracted, squirrel. This is how you could have males who are innocent, and this is being weaponized and used against them. And also, too, there's another aspect that Stevie J and other people that in the community that I follow have talked about, which is the male victim end, which is nobody talks about the male victims that happen, because there's two sides to every story, right? You have female victims and you have male victims, and no one covers the male victims, or the fact that they are marginalized in this category and they're still victims. And Johnny Depp is one of those victims.
Would you say that this has had a, lasting effect on male victims? So because of what's happened, it's going to be, more of a stigma for them to come forward to say, I suffered this abuse, and they're going to be worried that they're not going to be believed.
Yeah, I think it does create a stigma. I think that the stigma has always been there because society has placed this great burden on our shoulders. And look, I've grown up with the same thing, right? The man of the house, you take care of the bills. If you got issues, or if you have a girlfriend or something like that, you shoulder as much as you can because you're the man, right? You're supposed to take charge of the house and be the one who's like that provider, that person who shoulders the burdens, right? And we're in a different age, women do the same thing, but it's always kind of been like males have this role, and society has molded this role around the male figure. And then you have things that could happen like this, and when you grow up hearing all of these things and then this happens to you, you don't know what to do, because you want to tell someone, and you got people who will be like, man up, or things like that. And it's really hard for you to say, well, do I get the help that I need and bring this out, or do I kind of just live with it? And 90% of the time, males are too scared to come forward and say anything. And I think that's why Johnny Depp is really important. He's important because he's the first person who's not sitting on his hands while someone steamrolls not only his career, but the fact that he's a victim of this. And that made me have more respect for him.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've been kind of following this case, and this has been ongoing for a long time. Obviously, it's a kind of scandalous divorce between the two of them. It's very, very messy. Court of public opinion seems to be swinging somewhat now towards Johnny, in favor of him, because he's been vindicated after what happened and the evidence came forward. But still, as you say, his career seems to has suffered a setback, whereas Amber Heard does not seem to.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about this. So the hashtag Me Too thing came in. And if you guys don't know, Johnny Depp was attached on to Pirates of the Caribbean and Fantastic Beasts. He subsequently immediately was under fire during this Fantastic Beasts, but I think it was a couple of months because J.K. Rowling and a few other people, cast members, Jude Law, and a couple of people went to bat for him. But the pressure and the kind of decision came from Warner Bros. Up at the top, like Mount Olympus. They said he had to step down, but it was one of those situations where it's like, you could step down gracefully, or we could let you go and make up an excuse. And that was the interesting thing, because a lot of people points out, well, he stepped down, right? He did the right thing and he stepped down. He didn't want the controversy. Well, if you look at the context of when this came out, and I've been following it for a while, he released a statement that because of what was going on, he was taking a step back. He didn't want to bring that onto the movie. But in a later interview, he talked about how they kind of had given him a choice of, either you come out and do the song and dance and step down gracefully, or, they release their sort of BS statement we've seen for any of these. I'm going to say firings because that's what I consider it. It's firing.
Yeah, it was a case of jump or be pushed, basically. And you say, a lot of people did come out the bat for him, and people that you wouldn't have expected. I mean, Winona Ryder, for example, and they've got there's no love lost between them, but she said that this isn't the Johnny that I know.
Yeah, that was interesting too. If somebody is guilty of these things, and, I'm not saying there's a lot going into this, but what's really intriguing is I've never in my life, I don't think as me being me, okay, or any male out there, can you honestly remember a time you're in a relationship where you had an ex step forward and come to bat for you? And not just one, but several of his exes came out and talked about how this is not the Johnny Depp that they know. They don't believe it, things like that. So when you have your exes come out and say, nah, this is the person we know, basically saying that she's full of crap, it kind of makes you question, okay, what's really going on here?
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, he obviously was replaced in Fantastic Beasts 3. I think Mads Mikkelsen was called in to take the role that he had. And he's basically now a pariah from Hollywood. I mean, given Hollywood, that's not a terrible thing. I can think of worse things to be exiled from. But this, as you say, this was his livelihood. And this is a man that's, he was an A-list star.
Yeah. Here's another thing too. And if you guys know my channel, I'm not a huge fan of Disney. I haven't watched a Disney movie. I stopped after the Gina Carano incident. I stopped watching Disney in general. Like, I was in the middle of WandaVision and I just stopped. I haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, anything that's come after. I'm seeing Cruella because people on my channel voted for it, and they like me suffering during my reviews. So I'm going to go see that with Bitchy, and we're going to do a review on it. But for the most part, I avoid them. And it was interesting because after he got dropped from Fantastic Beasts, Disney dropped him. Now, theirs, I think, was calculated because they had in mind this female Pirates reboot that they wanted to do. And so I honestly think just getting rid of him was them trying to reboot the franchise and not necessarily even really caring about this case, to be honest. Because, with the James Gunn thing.
The bottom line for Disney, it's more about making a profit rather than, making a stand.
Yeah, so I don't think they care either way, because I know some people have petitioned Disney and stuff like that. And I said, look at the moves Disney has made recently. They clearly don't stand on any kind of moral ground for anything at this point. They're 100% about profit. So for me, them asking him to step down was more of, oh yeah, it's kind of because of this thing, but they had already intended on rebooting the franchise. I believe Pirates 6 initially was supposed to be the send off of the character. So yes, I totally agree. That is 100% true. So Linda A brought up the UK court case, and boy, this is interesting. So I've heard you've been digging into this. So what have you found out? And I can kind of fill in some more blanks, because the UK case, boy, that's an interesting one, folks. Definitely buckle up for that.
Over here, the Sun, basically it's known as a trash newspaper. for a very long time, it's always been, one of the worst tabloids. Uh, the case itself really didn't make ripples over here. I mean, it was covered by other news outlets. It was covered, obviously, most extensively by The Sun because they had a stake in what was happening. And obviously, sadly, ultimately, they won the case. But it was very, very shady the way it was covered over here. There wasn't really, interviews done. It was all done behind closed doors. And as you say, our court system is quite different to yours. I mean, you can watch a court case, but it's so long-winded and boring. It's really not anything that you can kind of dig into.
Yeah, and thank you, Linda. She says Disney dropped him already 2018, 2019. Can't remember right now after that op-ed Amber wrote. And I'll get to that. So the Sun had, and this kind of goes into with this op-ed too. It's kind of all a circular thing because going back to I believe, God, this started in 2016, 2017. That's how long this case has been going on for people who might not know. This case has been going on for years. Okay, so a part of their agreement was she would get $7 million and that it would go to charity. Also in that, which people actually informed me, I got a great community that's been doing a lot of research on this and helping me fill in the blanks as I've gone. But they signed a kind of an MDA sort of a thing where she wasn't supposed to talk about things. They were just going to kind of let it go. And that op-ed, she had talked about being a survivor of domestic violence. And that's what kind of kicked off these changes of events. Now, where the Sun comes in is they did a whole thing on her, I guess. You know how the Sun likes to draft off of other people and things like that. And within the newspaper, they had called him a wife beater. And now here's where the issue comes in, folks. When you are writing for a newspaper, in case you didn't know, back in the day, I wanted to be a journalist. Thank God I never pursued that profession. But when you write a story, you are only technically supposed to put in facts. Okay, you can weave in opinion.
You're supposed to be objective. Yeah.
Yeah, objectively. Okay, you can even have your own opinion, but it has to be stated as such or worded in a way where the reader knows it's your opinion, right? You go, okay, here are the facts. This is how I feel about it. And then the people decide on what they feel about your article. Now, what they did was they put clearly slanderous wording in their article. And one of the things they used was wife beater. And that is a label that is calling them on something. Now, if you make a type of statement like that, you need to have proof. Now, according to them, their proof was Amber Heard, right? So, and what she had said, but they had done no legwork, no investigating the evidence. They'd found nothing that they can tangibly say as a fact, stating that he in fact did these things. And that's where this lawsuit comes in. The lawsuit wasn't against Amber Heard. There was a lot of misconception, like because she took the stand as a witness, but it wasn't about her. It was about the paper and their use of the word wife beater, which was wrong. They labeled him, and they sent it out to tons of people all across the world, and they had no proof in what they said. And that's where the lawsuit in the UK comes in, because he was suing the Sun over printing that. And specifically, when you look at the lawsuit, it is over saying he was a wife beater, which I 100% agree. I agree, because when you put a label out there like that, that's very damaging wording. And the Hollywood elitists and all that, they follow the Sun for some strange reason. And all these other papers, Entertainment, THR, Vanity, all of those are the big papers that float around in the world of Hollywood. So when you put a label out there, this is affecting towards his career. And that's what he was trying to prove in court, that due to these slanderous and unfounded accusations, He's been hurt for roles. He's lost money and things like that. So he's going after the paper, and his next lawsuit is in Virginia against Amber Heard herself for her op-ed piece for the Washington Post.
Right, and I think it was March of this year when he was denied permission to appeal against the court's ruling.
Yes, because he had done he'd done an appeal. He had the initial case with that joke nickel, which I'll get to that fiasco. That guy. There's so much stuff, and I can't wait to talk about that because there is so much stuff that is wrong with that case. When I first went into this, I go in as someone who appreciates the law and things like that. I served in the military and stuff. I believe very strongly in the law, but I'm also not an idiot, and I can see where things don't line up. And there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that did not line up whatsoever. Like, a lot of people connected to different people connected to the paper, and it was all, to be quite honest, I don't want to swear on your channel, but it was a something show. It was a complete fiasco. So, you had him taking the Sun paper to court. And when he took them to court, first off, nobody from the Sun, the person who wrote it, the editor, the chief, anybody in charge ever took the stand. That is really weird. Typically, when you do a lawsuit, the people you are facing, you should be facing your accusers. Okay. None of the people that said these things that had a connection to this article took the stand.
Yeah, it was all done, separately behind closed doors.
It was all done separately, and it's astonishing because to me, part of the justice system is you're supposed to have the right to face your accusers. And right away for me, that's a big red flag because I've never seen a case where the person who's being charged with something, the defendant doesn't get to face their accuser. It's very odd. I don't know if things work differently down there, but
usually not. No, it's pretty much the same as you described. It's done. All the defendant and the accuser, they're in the same room, and that's how a case is usually handled. But say even when evidence was brought forward, it was either ignored or it was dismissed.
Yeah, Linda A. made a good point. Dan Wooten was tough in his article and so confident in what he said, but he didn't have the guts to show up in court and defend what he said. And that was an interesting thing. Oh, that guy. That guy. So, yeah, Dan had a lot to say, but when it came down to facing the person, he didn't. And you want to know why? And this is my problem I have with the media. And this was the important part in general, and I really wish was highlighted more here because we see this all the time. Journalists making these statements and not having any accountability. Look, you can say freedom of the press and all of that, but that only goes so far. Freedom of speech and freedom of press is not covering you outwardly attacking someone without proof. You can't do that. This is stuff that damages careers and lives. This man has kids, you know what I mean? So you come out with this paper and you accuse him of these things, and this affects not only his worker life, but this affects his personal life. And the fact that when they brought this out, he didn't face any of these accusers, and their sole witness was Amber Heard. And oh boy, her taking the stand, Purple. Her taking the stand. If you watch this, go back through and watch this. I'd be here for hours if I broke down this case. But if you go back and watch the case, she literally contradicts statements she's made. She contradicts statements she's made within her own testimony. It's amazing. It's baffling.
Even more than that, she's on record admitting that she hit him. You know, she's been abusive. She hit him with pots, pans, vases.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, the audio tapes. And I want to say, I believe the audio tapes may have come after, been during this whole fiasco. And this is another thing interesting about the case. Here in the U.S., we had all of this information releasing, and the UK took none of this into consideration. Johnny Depp brought officers, various witnesses to prove them, and the judge discredited all of his witnesses. In his
evidence that was denied.
Yeah, in his report, he came out with a statement while wrapping the case up. He had came out with a statement talking about how he didn't find this credible. He didn't find that credible. He took this as conjecture or hearsay. He discredited police officer statements that said when they came there, they found no evidence of Miss Heard being an abuse or nothing out of the ordinary. These were uniformed officers who responded to these various so-called incidents.
These will be official reports, basically. Yes.
Yeah, official reports that Nichols totally discredited and says so, that he doesn't put any credit into their statements. And then for Johnny's witnesses, as far as that weren't police officers and stuff, he calls it hearsay.
Well, you bring up a good point. You were talking about freedom of the press and freedom of speech. Obviously, over here, we have very different laws to that. So we don't have a First Amendment the way that you guys do as well. So I think that needs to be taken into account as well. And let me just grab this super chat from Golgo13, aka Brandon. Thank you, honey. It says libel law needs to be fixed. Johnny Depp is a victim, but because he has balls, he's guilty. This fixation on the man's fault is beyond toxic.
Yeah. I mean, it's. And I've talked with Father Zod about this and a lot of other people who deal with these kind of things. Libel lawsuits are hard, especially against newspapers. And this is just another example of the way the law is essentially broken. It is very hard to prove your case whatsoever when it comes down to a libel case. It's very, very tough. It's one of the toughest things to go for. I think it'll be easier for Amber because it'll just be him and her, but going against the newspaper is one of the toughest battles because of the way their amendments are set up and things like that. They hide a lot behind all of this stuff, and it's really sickening.
Yes, it's like you were saying, it's that freedom of the press. It's almost like a get out of jail free card. Chris brings up a really good point as well. He says, General Zod, there's also the police body cam footage which showed, opposite to what you reported, her home was not in shambles after the, in quotations, fight, nor did she have any signs of physical abuse.
Yeah, that was the other thing. The body cam footage is an interesting thing. This body cam footage came out recently, and I remember I was off off of YouTube and everything for a while. It was a day with me and the unicorn, and I come back and this thing is trending and blowing up. I'm like, what's all this going on here? And I find out that they've released this body cam footage of the events of when Johnny Depp supposedly went crazy. Okay, so the story is him and Amber got into a fight. He got upset. He knocked all of this stuff off of the floor. He broke this glass wine bottle. It was all over the carpets and stuff like that. And the police show up, of course, for this call. And when they get there, first off, they don't even want to let them in, right? And they come in with the body cam footage. And Linda, you might know the person's name. This idiot that she rolls around with, because Amber Heard has this entourage of dummies that follow her. And so they don't even want to let the police in. But when they come in and they're on the body cams and he looks around, everything is pristine. Nothing looks out of place. Nothing looks skewed. There's no wine anywhere. There's no glass. There's no nothing. Now, the initial story is that they cleaned up before the police got there. But I would say, thank you, Josh Drew. Oh my God, Josh Drew. This guy, Josh Drew. friend of Amber's, right? So this guy, Josh Drew, comes in there and he's wearing the worst getup I've ever seen from anyone. Yes, it's a second night, but the first night that they had sent people over, because whenever you have a domestic dispute claim, there's they send people over, they send the police, and they send a counselor to talk to them. The counselor went over there, and the police went over there, and they said they had seen no signs of abuse. Mm-hmm. The person who's the counselor said that Amber did not appear to have anything wrong with her or see any signs of abuse or any of the hallmarks of someone who had gone through it. You know, she wasn't shaking in the corner. She wasn't scared. She wasn't nothing. When you see the video, she's literally sitting there just like, hey guy, hi. I'm Amber. You know, it's not someone who's been through a horrific ordeal that's just they're just out of their mind. They can't think. Okay. And this Josh Drew character is talked about. First off, he didn't want to even let the police into the house. Okay. And then he comes out and he talks about how he would do all this and that. And, you know, the next time he sees Johnny, all this, and I'm like, who are you, Josh? I'd never heard of this clown before all this started.
He wasn't familiar to me at all. It's like, who is this person? Yeah.
It's kind of like Kato Kalin back in the OJ days, if anyone remembers that case. God, I feel so old.
A big thank you to MV Geek. Let's Talk. He sends us a $5 super chat. He says, freedom of speech is not freedom from the consequences of the speech. Absolutely. Well said, Jesse.
Exactly. So diving deep into the UK case, when this all came out, okay, so there were a lot of factors in this, but the judge's main contributing factor, and this has been something that the community has talked about a lot, the main thing that was supposed to give credibility to everything that Amber Heard says was, of course, and people have probably already heard this, but the $7 million to charity.
Mm-hmm.
So the crux of this, I would say, it's even mentioned in the legal documents later released on the judge's ruling. And anyone, you're free to look this up. Anything I'm saying, this is all public record. If you dig deep, you can find all of this stuff. The judge's ruling, a certain section of the ruling claims that another reason for giving validity to Amber Heard's statement is that she was given $7 million as part of their divorce settlement, and it was supposed to go to charity, to which she claimed for months on various talk shows. You can also look those up on YouTube, where she's frequently stating she had donated all of the $7 million. Okay. Yep. So this in court makes her appear as if she's not a gold digger. She has no stake in any monetary value that may come out of this stuff. Okay. She's just this innocent.
Like the truth. Yep.
She's this innocent victim. Okay. And she's just doing her best, and she wants to speak for all of the abused people in the world because she's Amber Heard. Well, surprise, we still have yet to see where she's donated this money, because later, and this is from her own lawyers, it comes out that she has not donated this money. Now, supposedly, she was in the process of doing this, and due to her legal battles with Depp, she had her money tied up. That's what her own lawyers came out and said.
Oh.
And the funny part is if you track the timeline chronologically, her problems with this all coming out didn't happen to 2018 or 2019. This settlement was in 2017. So she had this whole year or so gap where she was supposed to pay this money, and she has not. So, Amber, where's this charity money is the question. Nobody knows where the money is.
Yes, it would be very interesting to try and follow the paper trail of this, see where it's actually gone. Like you say, she had like a year and change to declare, and show receipts.
So, Linda, yes, and about donating the money, it hardly proves you're a gold digger. I still don't understand how that's a defense myself, Linda. I have no clue. On the narrative that all of Depp's visitors were faked or paid by him. Oh, yes. Yes. There was that discrediting that the people were being paid by Depp to come forward. And which I find kind of interesting, because if we take that logic and we reverse it, all of Heard's witnesses is basically could be said along the same lines.
Yes, and to be said, all of her witnesses, they all come from, like you say, this kind of entourage that she has as well.
Yeah, it's all not credible people, and also too with the UK. Now Nichols' son has certain ties within the paper that he's friends with. Also, there's the whole Elon Musk thing. Now, I don't know how much of this is true. I don't really dive much into the Elon Musk connection, but there seems to be a connection between her and Elon Musk. And it was said that he had a hand somehow in this. Now, I don't know if that is true or not. But it is very credible. There's a lot of things that link back to Musk. He also made an anonymous donation for her for the charity money that she owns. Yes, he did the last payment a year before he filed the lawsuit against her. I wonder how long she and the ACLU plotted to write the article. It's now been proven they played a huge part in it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff as far as that goes. That's a whole nother thing with the ACLU, who Johnny Depp, he's not suing them, but him and the court are subpoenaing documents of what her payment has been, how much has been given.
Yes, and isn't it true that some of her witnesses that came out and defended her have been proved to be liars, and they've kind of turned against her now as well?
Yeah. There's a lot of different people who have come out and said stuff, and really, how do I word it? I don't want to say she threatened them, but they're quite terrified of her. She even had her assistant. If you guys weren't aware of the whole situation, when she was with Depp and they brought these dogs to Australia, and there was a whole big thing about it, and came out and made an apology for it. That was actually all her. And she had gotten people in that situation to lie to her about bringing these dogs in. It's why Australia is now pursuing a case against her, because the assistants had come out and said, yeah, we lied about it on the stand, and they're willing to take perjury charges. That's how much they hate her. She is a very terrible person.
Well, it just kind of shows what, if she thinks she can get away with something as simple as, smuggling her dogs across into a country where they should have been quarantined on entry. She really doesn't seem to give that much of a shit about consequences.
No.
And to get people to lie about that is a big deal.
Oh, yeah. And her record towards abuse, let me just tell you, there is a long record Yes, she did throw Kevin Murphy and Kate James under the bus with threats. Yeah, she's threatened a lot of people. There is a long string, like when you're tracking abuse, okay? Now you have Johnny Depp, who's under fire for this, okay? And everybody that's ever come out for him has said he's the nicest person in the world. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh my God, for me to go on, there's so much stuff. There was her and Elon going to Johnny Depp's penthouse. And let me just ask you, Valkyrie, if you were in Depp's position and Amber brought somebody else, and this is while they're still together, right? Brought another man to his penthouse while they were together in their bedroom.
Yeah, I'd be wanting to know what the hell is going on in that situation. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the amount of stuff that's come out is unreal, and also too, if you guys don't know, the audio tapes. The audio tapes were some of the first biggest indication, and on the audio tapes, and this is the biggest thing that annoys me about this. Okay, so I don't know. Have you heard the tapes?
I've heard some of them. I don't think I've heard all of them. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just ask you something. What do you think about that? Because I could give my opinion in a second, but I've been across multiple streams. I mean, to you who have not followed this that much, who do you think sounds like the real abuser?
I keep in the back of my mind that she is an actress, and to me it sounded like an actress acting a role, basically. You know, playing a part.
But I mean, she comes out and admits that she's hit him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did.
And she's like arguing about what a punch is. And like, I don't care if you punch or slap someone, you still hit him. Like,
yeah, she admitted that she was violent. And not just hit him, she threw things at him as well.
Yeah, she's on tape saying these things. And this is the thing that amazes me about people who defend her. I can understand defending someone when there's no evidence of them saying these things. But when you have somebody on tape, okay, recorded voice of them calling this person and they're saying these things, you can't discredit someone's voice actually saying something. I mean, I don't understand how much proof it takes.
You can't take it, you can't misconstrue it, you can't take it out of context. It is what it is. It's very, very hard, if not impossible, to spin something when it's come from that person.
Yeah. And there's also film footage from the court showing the painted on brushes. They were there one day, not the next. Yes. Yeah, that was another big thing. So apparently, when Johnny Depp had abused her, there was this whole big thing that he threw his cell phone at her, and she said she had this mark on her face, right? And she literally took these pictures, and then the next day she does a shoot, and where are the bruises? No bruises. Mm-hmm. She said she used makeup. Now, I'm not a female. I don't know how that works, but she got the greatest makeup in the world. I don't know.
That I can kind of weigh in on. Bruises, if anyone's ever had them, are actually very hard to cover up depending on the severity of the bruise. Now, if it's something, especially on the face, where the skin is very thin, the bruising will go deep. So you can put foundation or you can put concealer on, but the bruise will still show through.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm not an expert, but I mean, I don't think that L'Oreal or any of that is going to cover up that bruise that you showed us all on, the way that her face was marked. I was like, that does, that doesn't seem right to me. But then again, I'm not going to judge because I'm a guy. I don't know how these things work, but I'm
Let
just.
me put it this way. She would have had to have used the makeup that they put on to cover tattoos to cover it, and then she would have looked like a mannequin, basically, because you wouldn't have it would have just been a blank canvas.
See, yeah, like, I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how any. I don't know how any of that is, could be tracked. But yes. So I mean, there's a lot of different facets and angles to this that are very interesting. I just yeah. Sorry, I'm also looking at the chat while I'm doing this. I find that a lot of this is bull crap. A lot of it is bull crap. She said that her nose was broken. I mean, I broke bones. Yeah, she said she had her nose was broken. That there was no way the amount. She said she claimed that he at one point had dragging her through glass. Yet she had nothing to prove any of this.
Mm.
Okay. She made quite possibly one of the most outlandish stories that I have ever heard. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that is partly the point we're trying to get across as well. We know Johnny Depp as a person. We're not saying he is a completely innocent party and he hasn't done stuff in the past, but in this particular case, he's not the abuser.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in this particular case for me, this proves a lot how people rushing to judgments and in particular the media rushing to just crucify someone right away. This is a really big screw up on their end, and it is glorious to see that the media went to pick a side, and they picked the wrong side. They picked the wrong side. So, I don't know. The next thing that that's interesting after the UK is that right now we're going into the Virginia or the VA trial, and the judge has had a lot of different things that he's done. So if you guys don't know, he's suing Amber Heard for $50 million, which within itself I find kind of low. If you take into account what he's lost during these franchises.
Yeah, with your pod racing Palpatine.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that pod racing? You know what's interesting about this? I did a segment on Kate Winslet. If you guys don't know, the son was absolutely a horrid to Kate Winslet. This was during Titanic, right? Everybody remember Titanic? God, I feel old. I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that in the theater. So during the Titanic, Kate Winslet had been doing her nominations tours and all that because I won a crap ton of Emmys. I'm not going to lie. I still got the soundtrack. I'm sorry. My heart will always go on for that movie.
I remember getting it on VHS. Yeah.
My girl's looking at me like, oh, God. You know what? I have no shame. I love the Titanic, okay? It's a great cinematic film. All right? Anyways, they so, yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
So, MB Geek Jesse says, as someone who was in a very abusive relationship, it's very common for the man not to be believed that he's being abused. saw it living in is that Illinois, California? I'm not very good with states. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure what NC is, and Florida.
Yeah, you know what? And if you check out Stevie J Raw's channel, he's a friend of mine. He goes a lot into the male angle of it. He's actually talked with domestic survivors who are male. He did a whole stream on males who have survived domestic abuse. It was a very good stream. Yeah. I actually saw that and Blair Witch when it first came out, and I mean the original Blair Witch. I just sneak into the theater. So yeah, it was like one of the biggest movies. But if you guys remember how Kate Winslet disappeared from the scenes for a while, the Sun had made a piece talking about how she was a little bit overweight during that role.
Yep.
Now, did we watch the same movie? Because I feel like we... What?
She was tiny and slender.
This is the stuff. So when I hear something like this, I go, oh, these guys have been trash for years. I mean, they stalked people. They've done quite a few illegal things. This isn't the first thing. If anyone's I track back, this isn't the first thing. They've looked through people's trash. And I mean, that's not really uncommon for these rags, but they've done things that are bordering on highly illegal.
And the Sun has one of the worst reputations. You know, just ask anybody who remembers the Hillsborough disaster, and they'll tell you their coverage of that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know much about that. I followed the just a few of their blunders in the entertainment world, but I didn't realize until I started diving into this, like how much the Sun is just a bunch of scumbags. I'm sorry, that's what
it really is.
They're a bunch of scumbags. I don't know how those people sleep at night.
Where do you see this case going? Do you think it's going to be dragged out for another couple of years? Do you think there's going to be any kind of way of them settling, or do you think it's just going to be drawn out until the bitter end, and it's just going to keep being, a circus, basically?
This is the interesting part about this case. This case has been going on for a couple of years now, but the biggest thing, Father Zod, man, Squirrel will probably talk more about the drama between John. That's another thing. My dad and Mad Squirrel, they do a stream, which is at 1 on my channel. Thank you, Keely.
Yeah, and Linda, it's Liverpool. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So the way that I see this going is that I do believe this VH trial is going to be the final deciding factor. Now, here is the interesting part about this and the end that I cover. This is really going to be a make or break for me for both careers. And for me, on the one side, it could be one of the biggest comeback stories, or in my heart, I would like to believe that this would be a big comeback thing for Johnny Depp. I believe he's innocent, and I put a lot of faith in our American justice system, barring OJ. We always get one, okay? I don't care what anyone says. OJ was guilty. But I followed that. Oh God, I got into so many fights with my friends over that case when I was a kid. I lost a lot of friends over that. But that was an interesting fiasco. But I see it as it's going to be a make or break for these careers. Because let me explain. Amber Heard does have roles, but if you look at the stuff she's been in recently, it has failed terribly. She did that CBS, the stand, that miserably bombed. It was one of the worst showings for a show I think I've seen. If you guys look at the demo for that, people tuned out, I believe, after like episode 2 or 3. Like
I watched all of that, and you think with such a huge cast that they would have hit the mark, but one, they couldn't have picked a worse year to put it out, during a global pandemic, and two, I think, as you say, a lot of it was to do with her because she is considered toxic.
Oh yeah. A majority of people were turned off by the fact that she was in it, and then the other fact, because I watched 1 or 2 episodes and I kind of just went ugh. But the other fact that was wrong with it was it didn't follow the book.
Just chronologically, it was all over the place.
It took threads from what I saw from the book, but it didn't follow anything. And it was an outright disaster. And I'm sorry for the people who are good actors that were in that show. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I really am. Whoopi Goldberg was a great cast, and Alexander Skarsgård was pretty good because I followed him from True Blood. He's a pretty decent Randall Flagg. But other than that, everybody was poorly cast for their roles. It was a fiasco. So that was a failure. And now here's the thing that I think is going to come down to the cinemas and the big companies are waiting to see the ruling. Now the case was pushed back because of delays due to the zombie apocalypse. But I think that ultimately you're going to see whichever way the case goes is where Hollywood is going to lean towards, because you see a lot of articles and papers now actually telling facts of this case. They used to be kind of siding toward or staying in the middle, saying, well, we don't want to say anything. They're both toxic people, blah, 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 blah. I've heard that so many times, or it was a toxic relationship. I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. It was a very one-sided toxicity. It was purely her being toxic. I don't care what anyone, she's admitted it. When you've come out and admitted on tape that you did something for me, you're at fault. You said you were at fault. Okay. Johnny Depp got into arguments. It's on tape of him saying and her saying and proving his case when he says, I was walking away and she was calling him a coward and that she wanted to sit there and talk. And he was like, well, you were upset. You were getting mad. You're, throwing things and getting, and things were getting violent between us, and I want to take myself out of that situation. That's how you're supposed to be an adult and handle confrontation, right? If things are getting heated, you step back for a second, and then, you come back when cooler heads prevail. So I think for this is going to be a big thing. And Amber Heard has done a lot of shit she's gotten away with. She was abusive to her former lover. If you guys don't know, supposedly she swings both ways. She had a female lover named Rocky Pennington. She abused her. And then, and then she got arrested for it, which nobody talks about. She got arrested for it. And she tried to play the cops were being homophobic because she was with her lover. But yeah, she's got arrested for that. So, I mean, these things are on record.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. Rocky Pennington. When did I get that? I think that was Farzad. God.
And a big thank you to Pod Racing Palpatine. He says, Boon to Eve was yesterday and I took first place. Woo! Love y'all. Justice for Johnny.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, sweetheart. Appreciate that. Thank you. Let me just ask you as well, because we were talking earlier about, cases like this being tried in the court of public opinion. Do you think that once this case is finally over, that that will kind of stop, perhaps? Especially the media will have learned not to kind of jump in, to go back to being objective the way they should have been in the first place.
No, 100% will not change a thing. Call me jaded and cynical. I'm in the world of this, and no, we see it every day. Chris Pratt, and all of these other celebrities, right? That Gal Gadot was recently. Okay, she had her round of kangaroo court. And the tweet she put out, I read on my channel. It was the most peaceful, not innocuous kind of a tweet.
Yep,
And
it was.
she got dog piled out. This is the problem. Twitter has a bunch of idiots on there who are being brainwashed by this woke culture. These 14, 15-year-old kids, not all of them. I've met a couple of cool ones. I work with younger kids. But a good majority are listening to what the media is doing. And it really shows the irresponsibility of the media and entertainment for years. Going back, I'd even say before 2015, but it really ramped up during 2015. They've been pushing this agenda, and it is having an effect. And there's this grouping of people who are this attack mob. And if JD wins, I think it will pull the spotlight off of him, but they'll just move on to the next person. Yeah. And that's the issue, isn't it? It's the lynch mobs are being assembled. And if it isn't this, it's going to be somebody else. And it's why this is important to me, because this is a case where everybody jumped on him and he was an innocent man. And proving this will put into people's minds that, yes, there are people who are males who can be innocent and have nothing to do with abusing someone. But at the end of the day, as long as we continuing feeding and nurturing this mindset, this woke culture, it's never going to change. I would honestly say, and I'm sorry if this sounded jaded, but I've been covering this for so long, it's going to get worse before it gets better. The only way to combat this is to not endorse and not feed into this. Anybody who has anything to do with this woke stuff, people need to avoid like the plague, because at the end of the day, Hollywood themselves and entertainment and news outlets, they don't care about the woke agenda. It just, in their minds, for some strange reason, makes them money. They think there's this mythological group they're pandering to. I don't know where they exist. I don't know how much money this group is giving, but they've been pandering to it for years now. And until they lose enough money to see being woke isn't the cool thing, it's never going to change. More innocent people are going to be thrown under the bus.
I would be inclined to agree. I mean, you bring Twitter up as a really good example. It's the loudest voices that seem to be heard, even though we know, Twitter is just a microcosm of society. That's all that you seem to hear. And corporations and companies and, the big media, they go after these people, but they don't support what they put out. They will decry, but then they will move on to the next thing. And I think until, the media, until corporations, until companies learn that, it's just going to keep perpetuating, absolutely. And Punk Waddle has a really good point as well. He said, Rob Burgundy changed the world forever. I guess, but the competitive nature of media reporting and now keeping up with the social media voices makes it harder to find the truth in the noise. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's even hard when looking under this stuff. There's very few sources that I use, or I know other channels that I talk to and things like that, and they source out things as well. And it's hard to find in this chasm of all of these media things coming out. It's hard to find what is truth, because once in a while you will get someone who will report something true in a sea of 15 or 20 stories that wind up being total and complete garbage. So it's really hard, and I feel bad. Look, when I was a kid, I lived in New York, and every day my dad would go down and he'd get a paper, and the New York Post or the Times or something like that, and we'd sit down in the diner and he'd have his cup of coffee, and I'd have a bagel, and I wouldn't talk to him because that was his time, right? He'd do the whole paper thing, and then after he got done, and I'd say, Dad, why do you do that? And he goes, son, it's important to know about the world and all of that, right? He goes, you got to be up on things. And that's what news used to be. It used to be informative, and we've lost that. And the sad part is, because there's new younger people being indoctrinated by this college system that's pushing these woke politics, they're not objective anymore, and they're being raised into an unobjective point of view. And this goes from high school to college to every facet of the media, whether it's audio, visual, or Hollywood produced entertainment. It's all being hit by this agenda. And these kids are being very much influenced. So it's almost like they're creating these little talking points, right? They're getting raised through the system, and then they're becoming big billboards, and they're getting positions in social media. They're getting positions in the newspapers. They're getting positions in Hollywood. And that's why we're seeing more of this stuff being churned out. I got in my job a whole pamphlet on diversity. I shit you not, I am a security guard for a particular mall, and I got a pamphlet on diversity labeled Diversity in Me. I remembered it because I read it. It was hilarious. It was downright hilarious. I read it with my Black friends who found it equally hilarious. They're like, man, I wish they had this a couple of years ago. like they're about 10 years too late. They're like, are you kidding me? Literally, the packet said Diversity in Me. My daughter got a white privilege meter from the school.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Rate your white privilege. Who would want to be one of those? Could you imagine what I did?
Straight in the bin if that was me.
When I got this, I went to the school. I'm not allowed back in the school anymore. I was like, because I said, what is this? Okay, I tried from a logical angle. I go there and I go, what is this exactly? What does this prove? How does this go towards her education? I don't see anything of history, science, math. How is this helping her to become a better person? Can anybody answer this for me? Why does our white privilege matter? Anybody? You got nothing to say? I mean,
it's infuriating, isn't it? And like you say, it is absolutely everywhere. And I think Golko's got a good point. He says if you can pull your kids out of public school, indoctrination is insidious.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because when I talk about this case and when I talk about Johnny Depp, I go, this isn't just one issue. Johnny Depp, it's not just him, along with a lot of other actors are being swept up, and this Me Too movement is not being used to point out the biases or anything else like this. This is being used to burn people at the stake that they don't like. That's what it is. They are trying to get rid of people, and they're using the Me Too movement to do it. That's all it is at this point. It is a weaponized tool to use against anybody they don't like. And people might not want to hear that, or people might disagree with that statement, but it's the truth. It's all of the evidence that we have. How can it be disproved? How many people have they gotten rid of under this? Yeah.
Well said. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agree. I thought about homeschooling. I really did, because I grew up in the city. I went to a public school. I went to a particular school that had security on each floor. There were drug dealers. People got stabbed, the whole 9 yards. Okay, it was a very rough school. But the school itself never lied about things. They taught the curriculum. They tried to make a difference in our lives. Whether most of us ended up as well adjusted as me or choosing the right path, that was our own choices in life. But the schools stayed the way that they were supposed to. Now you hear about schools taking out texts, and I'm not just saying this as just, oh, this is the latest story. I've seen this in the school that my daughter attends. I've literally witnessed them not teaching things, or teaching these other things that are weird, that doesn't make sense. And I'm going to the school saying, what the hell does this have to do with my daughter's education? I told her she can pick whether or not she wants to go to college. And I tell her every day. I wake up in the morning and I go to her, I go, honey, I want you to know something. you're going to hear a lot of crap. You're going to hear a lot of nonsense. And I go, don't believe what everyone tells you. You take in the information and then you listen from other sources and you make your own choice. And nowadays they aren't telling the kids that. And I think that's why it's going to be hard to see a change within what's going on with Depp and them, because even if he wins this case, it's like we're waiting for the next victim they're going to throw under the bus. And I commend Johnny Depp and a lot of actors. You need to take heed to what he's doing. Fight for they attacked him as a person. They attacked who he is as a person and affected his family. Okay. His kids got to hear this crap. Okay. I'm a father. I understand. There's probably parents here in the chat too that understand. They attacked the man at his home. And the people sitting down and rolling over and letting Hollywood do this is just going to perpetuate this behavior. There needs to be more people like Depp taking a stand against this corrupt system and saying, I'm not going to go with this label. I didn't do this. I'm innocent. Here's the reason why. If you're innocent, you need to come out and you need to fight and say you're innocent. This thing that they've been doing for years of rolling over because the Hollywood machine will take them out. It's horrendous.
It is, absolutely agree. And as you say, people's ability to either debate or to think critically, it's being eroded. You know, you're seeing it less and less with generations that are coming forward. And I do feel sorry for kids growing up at the moment.
Yeah, it's terrible. But, you know, I mean, hopefully I've been insightful. You know, there's a lot of other things out there. There's things on my channel, Rob Rules, CVJ Raw. There's a lot of people in the community that covers it.
Yes, tell everybody where we can find you, please.
Oh, if you guys enjoyed me rambling on, thank you very much. You can find me at Mr Zod's Fandom Zone. And actually, in a little bit, I'm not going to be on it, but Father Zod does a news segment. It's actual news. They take articles. Him and one of my other co-hosts, Mad Squirrels, do it every Friday night at midnight. I do a late night talks where we point out Hollywood ridiculousness. I pick out the most random and ridiculous articles, and we make fun of them. It's me and a panel of guests. You know, Pop Culture PBs, my co-host, Mad Squirrel, Cybernetic Husky, and then I invite some people on and we just have a good time. You never know what we'll talk about. We talked about a bunch of stuff I can't say right now on your channel, but you could go over there and check it out. None of those are monetized. And,
guys, please do check it out, because I've caught several of these shows and they are a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah,
and you know, Saturdays I got my Phantom Zone News with my father, where we talk about this. We dive a lot into JD. We're going to be talking about the subpoenaing of the ACLU this Saturday. So we're going to kind of dive into, we pulled up a lot of documents, and we're going to go into the ACLU ignoring court subpoenas. And so they've been ignoring the court for months now, and the judge is forcing them to release their documents. This is going to be a big part of the case in proving that Amber has not donated any of this money or getting any kind of figure. So definitely come and check that out. And yeah, and you can hear me rant, as Debbie put it. So thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. We love to hear your rants. It's always an honor to get to chat with you, because as I said, I needed someone who knew this case, and I knew that you were my go-to guy. So thank you so much for joining me today. Guys, if you are not subscribed to Mr Zod, please do, because as I say, he has a fantastic channel. He can also be found on Twitter as well. And just a massive thank you for joining me today. I think we had a really good show. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. I mean, I'm not particularly a morning person, but I will wake up for you and Loki. I will get up and do those mornings, because yeah, it's always great fun. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Zod. And generally in Valhalla, we don't kneel, but I will say on this occasion, kneel before Zod, people, please.
Thank you.
Let me just say a massive thank you to everyone who sent in super chats today. You guys are brilliant, and as usual, the chat was on fire. So thank you, guys. I will be back Friday, 10 a.m. Central as usual. And Mr. Zod is back on later on today, so please check him out. Massive thank you to everyone as ever, and if I don't see you again, have a fantastic Wednesday. Thank you, guys.